Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Technology Tuesdays hosted by Out of the Box Technology. We are excited to bring you these free webinars that feature third-party apps, tips and tricks in and outside of QuickBooks, and hot topics that the industry is encountering. My name is Jennifer Darachuk, and I will be your moderator today. I have been with Technology Tuesdays since last year, working in business development and customer relations, and I'm excited to be a part of Technology Tuesdays. We restarted these webinars this year after taking a little break and focusing on some other areas of out-of-the-box technology, but like I said, we're really excited to bring these back and feature some really great partners to help you learn more about them. A little bit about Out of the Box before we get started. If you're not familiar, we do QuickBooks training, integration, hosting, and support. We offer bookkeeping services, and some other aspects that you might not be familiar with are website design, custom app development, and franchise services and solutions. We have two really exciting products, our event app, which can become your event app, and we can fully customize it to any event that you have, including registration fully integrated. And we also have Recur 360, which was one of Intuit's top 10 apps of 2017, which we were really excited to be a part of that showdown. And Recur 360 can help with your recurring invoices and payments, and it's kind of the next level beyond what QuickBooks can offer on its own. So it's a really wonderful integration. At this time, I'm going to introduce Barb. She is with Dryrun and going to be doing our presentation today on easy cash flow management for businesses and their accounting team. So at this time, Barb, I'm going to hand it over to you and we can get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, so pleased to speak with everybody today in regard to cash flow management for accountants and their businesses. So today I'm just going to run through a short slide presentation that discusses at a high level why cash flow forecasting, if you're not offering it, might be the next step toward expanding your practice and offering great value to your clients. And then from there, I'll take you on a brief tour of our software. Okay. So, pardon me. So often when we look at the accountant and bookkeeper tech stack, so those apps that you use to bring to offer a seamless experience and enhanced functionality with reduced data entry to your clients and to your own practice, we look at the front end of how we get data into QuickBooks. Recur 360 and Dryrun are both focused with what happens when that data is in, what can we then do with that information? So in other words, what can you do with all the time that you were bought on the front end of your practice by having your business clients or your individuals in your practice, your admins, enter some of that data so that it's already in QuickBooks. Once it's in QuickBooks, it's waiting to be to do some tricks with it, which I think is a place where accounting professionals are could really show strength in what they, in how they sell value to clients, as I said. So in other words, we're leaving the land of actuals and we're heading into what ifs as they relate to cash flow. Okay, so what ifs, of course, if you call to mind a business owner that you know, what ifs are legion. Okay, they're all over the place. They wake our business owners up every night. If you own your business, they wake you up every night, likely. If you can predict them, however, your value as the accounting professional is perceived to be huge by your business clients and by your colleagues. So in other words, mapping probabilities in terms of cash flow forecasts in a flexible manner, like Dryrun, offers an extremely high return on the investment that your clients make in software like Dryrun. So just to break it down even one step further, what is Dryrun exactly? So in engineering and sciences, when you do a dry run, what that actually is you're doing a test run of something that you need to get right the first time. So when we apply that concept to cash flow management, Dryrun's actually a simple to use cash flow software that allows businesses to lay out a really solid cash flow, like their cash flows, in the form of a recurring budget, bills and invoices, and sales forecasts, and then visually model out these flows, modify them, so in essence do a dry run, and then make business decisions accordingly. Okay, it's basically like you have a choice between using no GPS in your car as you're rocketing down the freeway at 100 well, I'm Canadian, so it's kilometers per hour, or using a GPS that's able to give you some turn-by-turn nav. And think of how valuable that is when you're entering uncharted territory. Okay, so where is the value? So that is the value to your business owners. Your business owners literally feel like if you feel like you're driving this car into uncharted territory, your business owners feel like they're the hood ornament. Okay, every day is a struggle to balance what needs to get done, time in their business, time on their business, and then directing their business, let alone any of the barriers that stand in their way. So they're also extremely value sensitive. So note that I've said value sensitive, not price sensitive. Okay, so you've probably had the experience in which you've come away from a meeting with one of your business clients, and your business client says you've created a cash flow forecast or other forecasting document, and after a couple months, you have the sneaking suspicion that your business client didn't choose to take your advice. Okay, that doesn't make sense knowing what we know about business owners. The industry lends itself to having a lack of foresight. Often you're flying blind. Confusion and crisis are chronic in small business, as I have up on my screen right now. Risk is incredibly high, and often business owners, for as much as they love being in business, in some ways they hemorrhage money unnecessarily. Okay, so how are these two things both true at the same time? Okay, so they ask you for a forecast, you provide a forecast, nothing changes, yet they're constantly in crisis mode. So I need to make something clear here. It's not a strategy issue. Okay, your clients want to follow all the strategy that you have to offer. Okay, this often for your clients is an understanding, presentation, and collaboration issue. It's a software issue. It's a value issue in terms of return on investment and time. Okay, so cash flow is so critical. It's where the rubber hits the road. They don't have a problem paying for a cash flow forecasting tool, and they don't have a problem paying you to create those forecasts for them. They need to be able to action it. So that's where we sit today. So we built Dryrun so that accounting pros can manage dailies, much as you do in QuickBooks, and then business owners can leverage those dailies to build strategy for operations and sales forecasts. Shortly, I'm going to take you through a short demo to show you what I mean. So the key is that you're able to collaborate in an easy-to-use platform where you can both work on the tasks that are suited to your strengths. And by what I mean by that is you might say to me, Barb, I'm not particularly strong in strategy. Like I need a lot of data in order to strategize next moves for my clients. Your clients say to me, Barb, I cannot manage the daily bookkeeping tasks. It makes me want to hurt myself to have to do that. I'm not an accounting pro. Together in Dryrun, you're both able to play to your strengths to make a cohesive, strategic cash flow forecast that's going to drive their business to growth and profit. Okay? So, again, just to reiterate, Dryrun offers your clients the ability to do more of what they love to do. Okay? We're fast to learn, fast to deploy, and super clear for your clients. Dryrun in many ways is the ultimate time maximizer. We have a simple layout. You'll waste no time answering questions about everything that a spreadsheet leads to the imagination. So what are we looking for in cash flow forecasts? Okay, actually, before I touch on that, I just want to go through who fits into Dryrun's sweet spot. Okay, when you think about your list of clients, who in there is best suited to see really great value in a tool like Dryrun so that you don't have an uphill battle when I tell you that you're going to have to meet with those people, those business clients, once a month. That can either be a pleasure if it's the right client, or it's going to be nothing but, you know, swimming upstream. So just call to mind those clients that who operate somewhere between $500,000 to 20 million in gross annual revenue, those ones who have an eye on growth, and who have cash flow pains due to inventory, projects, or seasonality. Those are the businesses that Dryrun was built to support. We operate in over 60 countries, helping accounting professionals move over to value pricing for these clients. And let me tell you, these clients are happy that you're offering such an easy to understand and use collaborative platform for strategy. Okay? So when we talk about what are the hallmarks of a good cash flow forecast, it's one that enables you to grow. Okay, so they're collaborative, they're easy, they're scalable if you decide to add another location or business or product. They offer great value, and last but definitely not least, they're actionable. Okay, it's data that you will actually use. So I often have people say to me, hey, what is it that this offers, that Dryrun offers that a spreadsheet doesn't? Okay, the difference is actually clear. Instead of being ants marching on a page, it's highly actionable. I can't even count now the number of people that I've had place their thumb on my Dryrun graph, okay, on my computer screen, and say, oh man, this difference between my cash flow actuals and my sales pipeline, that's how I'm going to get a new facility. And they sound just gobsmacked. And they're gobsmacked because nobody before has ever displayed data to them in a way that is useful, understandable, and actionable. If that's you, then Dryrun might be for you. And we offer a free trial, and we'd love to have you come over, kick the tires, and see what we have to offer for your clients. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this slide because we need to actually have a discussion about what a Dryrun forecast looks like first, and then you'll know what your role is. So I'm going to spoiler this right off the bat. Your role is purple if you're looking at the Venn diagram on my screen right now. Okay, so we're not taking you out of your comfort place here of working with the near-term actuals in AR and AP. What we're doing is giving you a novel way to work it so that you can leverage your knowledge to provide strategy to your clients. Okay, so let me just flip over to my screen. One moment, please. Here we are. Okay, so what you're looking at now is a Dryrun forecast. Okay, this forecast is for a company called Wave Manufacturers. All right, another way to look at a forecast is to consider it as a bucket in which we can put any number of possible scenarios or futures. Okay, so my Wave Manufacturers bucket has 3 possible futures in it right now. I've got one that is very near term, so this represents the concrete data that's coming in and out. It most closely matches the bank account and most closely matches QBO. Then I've got sort of a midterm future. Things that I think might happen if I get to the point where all my invoices are paid out or paid up, all my bills are paid up from present day to about 90 days out. So this upcoming projects, I named it quite generally, but maybe when you think about your clients and who they are, maybe you would name this one, if we decide to hire a full-time admin person, or if my client decides to open a new facility in 6 months, or if we decide to launch another product line. Okay, those are all operational probabilities. Okay, so this one's very general. This one just looks at what upcoming projects might be on the hook for the next 6 months, say. Finally, we have one that's in the way far in the blue sky here, called sales forecast. Okay, and basically what we're doing is we're saying we're imagining all the money. So I say we, but basically this is one that you're going to turn over almost entirely to your client and say to that person, look, go forth and imagine all the money that you need and want, and then we'll work in the other scenarios how to make that a reality as we rough in. Okay, so this is the one that starts 6 to 12 months out. All these futures, however, are displayed in a single bucket because it becomes really critical to look at them on a graph across the same values on the X and Y axes so that we can decide. So we've basically put it in an apples to apples framework, and we can decide which scenarios are most viable and which aren't. And by that, let me give you a quick demonstration. Our actuals are what they are, okay? And we'll go into how you get data into Dryrun in a little bit, okay, in just a couple minutes. If I had 2 upcoming project scenarios, I can actually duplicate these, okay? So I see here that easily I just duplicated all the data that's in this upcoming projects at 3 to 6 months. It's labeled copy. I'm going to rename it upcoming projects 8 months. Say for whatever reason your client had to take a 2-month hiatus. So instead of looking at projects at the 3 to 6 month level, they're looking at bumping everything back by 2 months starting in August. So I could actually, if I do this right, so we're looking at invoicing, I'm looking at project X revenue. Perhaps I need to delay that into October. So what might that look like on the graph? Okay, difficult to use accurately your insight and intuition, but dead easy to display on a graph. Okay, so if we were looking at the launch of Project X revenue in October instead of August, what might that look like? Well, you can see there that there's a difference. So quite quickly, I was able to say most things are the same, but if I had to delay Project X's revenue influx by 2 months, this is what my graph might look like. Okay, then it's easy to say, oh, let's keep the red line and let's ditch the green line. That sounds really elementary, but for your business users, it's not. They're going to appreciate something so concrete and then being able to drill down into the data. Okay, so let's just go a little further in this demo. I'll show you how to get some information into Dryrun. So we integrate with QuickBooks Online, and you can see that in this actual scenario, we're actually running a lot of QuickBooks data. So how did I get that in there? It's super easy, okay? So I'm gonna go down to a scenario that is not connected to QuickBooks, and I'm going to show you. I hover over whichever scenario I want to connect. I click it. I find the QuickBooks badge and I click that. Then I'm given some options here, okay? I can connect to my whatever client file. So accounting professionals would have a number of client files available to connect to, okay? Or I can connect to another company. I can choose a date range, or I can choose all time. Better to choose a date range in order to help train your clients that cash flow is present forward. And then I can decide what information I'm going to bring in: bills, invoices, my bank balance to my month start. As more of an advanced user, you could bring in expenses, estimates, and if you're really close to, if your client was very focused on cash flow, maybe bank balance to today. Okay, so with that information here, you're given something that looks like this once it imports. Okay, import takes anywhere from a few seconds to up to a minute or 2 minutes, depending on how many inventory items. So if you have an inventory heavy business, you might want to limit the date range in order to get more information in more quickly. Okay, so then I've got data in this first actual scenario. With this, I've got recurring sections, so generally those non-bill those non-bill expenses, okay? We assume they don't have terms attached to them. You've got your bills. All right, so I can see here that I've got some bills I'm going to attend to momentarily, and then invoices. All right, so when I look in the invoice section, I see here that ACE Limited, I invoiced them on invoice 1463 for just a little over $1,000, and it's overdue. At a high level, either you or the business owner can see that action has to be taken. So in other terms, I guess what I'm saying is that likely you will never have to run an aging receivables report again. And I think that's pretty sweet. Anyways, so I can come down here. I see that the item was due on May 1st. When I call ACE Limited, they say, oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to pay that until May 31st. It's important that you, as the accounting pro, are able to quickly modify that information to accurately reflect the cash flow picture. So you'll note that red triangle has morphed into a green dot, showing me that this money is as yet unpaid but not yet due. We changed the due date. Perhaps leave a note for your business owner. Okay, so add item is the same throughout Dryrun, and it is the most key feature. We designed it to be deceptively simple, but also confined by how you enter the data so that there's no Excel mishaps. Somebody puts their elbow down on the keyboard and all of a sudden, you know, every critical cell is filled with the letter V instead of being filled with the numbers that you've slaved on. Okay, it's easy to use, easy to change, and easy to understand what you should do next, which are all critical components. So if I collapse this one and we look down at projects, I briefly talked about these out of order. So projects at the mid-range operational level of 3 to 6 months could look, they're by far the most varied scenarios that I see. I often see best case, worst case. I see a budget ceilings versus budget actuals, and I see a lot of different, as I said, different operational scenarios that might come to pass. A new facility, a closing of an old facility, a business pivot, a change from retainer income to project income, or vice versa, new hires, all sorts of change in workforce, so all sorts of mid-range scenarios that you can easily map out against one another and then toggle them on and off as is required to help your client focus on what's most critical. So from here, just want to flip back to the presentation. I'm going to do a brief check-in to make sure that there's if there's questions so far, that we address them.
Barb, we don't have any questions at this time, but I'll just remind the audience, if you do have a question, go ahead and type that into the chat box and we'll get to those for you.
Awesome. I hope that means that I'm answering everybody's questions on the fly, Jennifer.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so carrying on. So I've given you a little taste of Dryrun's dashboard screen for a particular forecast for a particular client, wave manufacturers. Okay, this is actually quite a limited one with the 4 scenarios running in the bucket that I had described. So the Dryrun concept is that these upcoming projects at 3 to 6 months, you're actually able to walk through what those would mean to the business in terms of cash flow before even getting out of your seat. Okay, so that really eliminates the flying blind. It also eliminates that that business owner intuition. While intuition is very valuable, it can lead to really critical mistakes in managing cash flow that can hamstring a business. The first statistic that I always display in my presentation is that 82% of businesses die through poor cash flow management. Okay, the number is just astounding. And recently it's come to light that while everybody thinks that hospitality and restaurant businesses are very volatile, very much more volatile than other verticals, they actually just are more apparent with their cash flow inflows and outflows, but other businesses that we thought were much more stable are actually more just as volatile as restaurant and hospitality. So when we approach cash flow as thinking that everybody is as volatile as restaurant and hospitality, we think, ooh, there's a real need for a flexible, simple cash flow forecasting tool that easily connects with QuickBooks and that easily can be collaborated on with your clients. So we were talking before about Dryrun offering an opportunity for your clients to do more of what they love to do. What does that look like? Okay, so allow me just to flip back to my presentation. Now, I did spoil this for everybody by saying that that accounting professionals are this purple circle here. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is how you, as the accounting pro, sell your value in this tool to your clients. Okay, so having your clients work in this software is the key to having them sit with you month after month and working on a short strategy session, which you can then bill for. Okay, so without taking anyone out of their comfort. So you as the bookkeeper or accountant can track the invoices and bills, report issues, make sure everything's ticking along from the bank account and from QuickBooks. You help mitigate potential shortfalls, and you reconcile the data from your other data sources. Okay, with that backbone of data that you're responsible for, well, I mean, some of the business users, to be perfectly honest, some of the business users that I speak to prefer to do their own books, and then they can't figure out why they're having a difficult time, to which my response is a hire bookkeeper and accounting team that you love and trust. Okay, so we're just going to assume that everybody falls into that category. Everybody here is probably in the purple circle. And then what do your businesses do? Your business clients rely on you to guide them to using your data that you have created in that topmost actual scenario. They're responsible then to predict their cash flow, to move from sales to actuals in their second scenario, and to plan growth and projects. Okay, they rely on you and your data set to then take their intuition and walk the walk, as we spoke of before. Thirdly, so your business clients have two jobs. Okay, they have two scenarios that they should be working in, whereas you only have one. You should be, or they should be setting sales goals with the data, tracking deals, and predicting revenue. Okay. Now, I do have a number of business clients and actually accounting professionals who shy away from the idea of creating that third sales projection scenario. To these people, I say, if you have cash flow problems now, that means that 12 months ago, you didn't set goals that were achievable or even at all in order to meet those goals and have enough money today. Therefore, today, are you going to set enough goals to meet your cash flow needs for 12 months from now? Okay, so please note that these three scenarios, while you can have many more, you should not actually have any less, and they should actually function in terms of human resources, so you and your business owner, in the way that I've outlined here, at least to start. Okay, so the nice thing about this type of workflow and communication is it's going to bring you into communication about once a month, once every 6 weeks. And it's going to help you keep your business owner on the right track for growth. Okay, so business owners, I love them. I was the business owner for a number of years. However, they perceive the reality to be one way when really it's another. They perceive their hope to happens as in the bags. Okay, so they assume that anytime a deal is pitched, they've won it and they spend cash accordingly. And they perceive their catastrophic risks to be minor hairballs and vice versa. So if you're nodding your head as I'm talking about this, you probably have a client who would see the value in Dryrun. Okay. They also tell themselves and you that they want a highly automated cash flow tool, but that's really only partially true. That brings me to my next point. They want to avoid, as you want to avoid in your practice, the pain of data entry, but they need to be able to fully map their business owner insight. They also recognize that last year might look nothing like this year, and this year might look nothing like next year. Not only that, they might not want them to look like one another. If last year was abysmal, they want this year to look nothing like it. So while automated data has its place, we value it in Dryrun, we value it equally with accounting professional and business user intuition. It's only together that you get the secret sauce that allows you to build these highly automated yet completely flexible cash flow forecasts that drive growth so radically that, to be quite honest, people are quite often surprised. They use terms like, I feel like I've been driven out of the fog. This is magical. Is this a crystal ball? So if that's, again, if you're nodding your head, if that's you, then I can only invite you to start a free trial with Dryrun and one on behalf of your client as well. So I'm going to go back into my forecast here for a minute. Okay, I just want to cover a couple more things. Core features, I guess. Dryrun doesn't tell a business user no. So this has to go back. This ties in really closely with the flexibility that we think is key for business users. Okay, one of the chief things that we've heard from accounting professionals is that business users, when an accounting professional says, no, you can't do that, you can't spend that, that would put you over budget, it's almost as though many business users thumb their nose at their accountant and say, well, I can, well, I have to, well, I did, and I'm still standing. So what's it to you? Again, if you're nodding your head along with me, I know I'm preaching to the choir. That's why I really like talking to accounting professionals. So Dryrun actually was designed not to tell you no. Okay, it doesn't tell anybody no. In that way, it's very similar to Excel. So we joke around here that we took Excel's best feature and took it and then improved upon it. Okay, it's a hallmark of business life that as a business owner, they overextend and then they cope. All right, so my classic example in this instance is who has not walked into a Staples thinking that they're going to buy a ream of paper and come out with a desk? Okay, you're buying a desk because you need a desk, or you've told yourself that you need a desk. Both those things are actually irrelevant. The fact is they've borrowed from some other pool of money or stream of revenue in their business, or they've borrowed against the future in order to get that desk because they've perceived a current need. All right, so the desk is done as far as the business owner is concerned. They've moved on. It's the accountant's role to help them cope with that reality of buying a desk. And therein lies the problem between the two segments. They're not communicating effectively. Dryrun is uniquely positioned to help you start communicating effectively as to the importance of why they should put off a purchase like that, or and then provide justification to them as to why they went ahead and did it. Okay, Dryrun is truly where the rubber hits the road. I'd like to discuss for just a moment the Dryrun Partner Program. Okay, so we decided last year, so Jennifer briefly touched on the app showdown that Dryrun and Recur 360 were both a part of. At that time, we decided that we really felt the love from accounting professionals, and that they're hungry for tools to justify value pricing to their clients, and also to help their clients achieve growth, especially in today's economic times. Okay, like I said before, we're in Canada, it's not all that much different. Okay, everybody's doing more with less. So it just seems to be the trend that the world is going on. Okay, that's true of the over 60 countries that Dryrun runs in. So we decided at that time that we would make Dryrun free for accountants that bring on a subscribing client. And then we would, further to that, we would give each subscribing client 20% off via their accounting professional. Okay, so whether you are a CFO, fractional CFO, accountant, or bookkeeper, or financial advisor, if any of those roles fit you, you can become eligible for a free account as long as you bring on a subscribing client, and then your client, each one of them from client number 1, saves 20% on their subscription pricing. Okay, as well, we have a free trial. So let's just take a look at a couple more in-depth features, or a couple more features, a little more in-depth here. Okay, so what we already talked about was the scenario setup. Okay, we talked about conceptually that a forecast is a bucket for several future scenarios to run alongside one another. But what happens if you need more than a single forecast? Behold the accounting professional dashboard. From here, you're able to control administrative functions, manage and file any and all clients that you may have. As you can see down here, briefly, I've got my forecasts where I've filed ones that I'm working on for a number of clients. Okay, I've got 13 more that are hidden down below here. And then I've got clients with whom I've shared forecasts with me. So Vetter Media, Regal Skateboards, Plenty Brew Tanks, Clash Software, Test Inc., Vinyl Creative. Because they're a part of my account, their child subscriptions under my parent account are each eligible for 20% off. So if I need some more admin level details, I can just pop open the details pane here. And from here, I'm able to do a number of things with their account from the admin level, or pardon me, from their forecast from the admin level. Okay, including deleting the forecast, archiving it, or duplicating it if Vetter perhaps is has something anomalous going on, or we need to take a snapshot of a moment in time and hold that separately without the dynamic interplay of data. So perhaps I just need to take one, duplicate it, and hide that second copy away. I'm able to do that. Okay, I can also, if I have two clients that are similar, I can duplicate it, detach Vetter Media's client file, attach, say, Regal Skateboards client file, make sure that there's no data, and use basically templatize my workflow in order to save some time, okay, if I have two clients that are similar. So from here, I can sort. You can see sorting options. I can also create a brand new forecast across the top here. If I'm interested in looking at my integrations, you can see that I can connect, I can see which companies, which client files are connected here. On the advanced and mid-level packages, I can connect as many client files as I have that are required. I can also change some advanced level settings here, really fundamental stuff. So if I can get you to just think back to where we saw the red triangles and the green dots, if I don't like that feature, if I need to turn it off and see how that will impact my cash flow for a given month, I can do that here. Okay. I can check on who is a member and who is a pending member and who should become a member here. All right. Purchasing a subscription is as easy as adding a member and then opening the member pane and clicking purchase. Okay. Back into the forecast for a few minutes. Okay. If I click on the details pane, I'm able to see what integrations are running at any given time. Okay. So in this forecast, I can easily refresh data. So a potential workflow might look something like this. I enter a forecast that I have built. The first thing I do is refresh data. So all my data from QuickBooks has come over, QuickBooks Online that is, has come over. Understand that we are a one-way sync. So we allow QuickBooks to inform the Dryrun forecast. Any changes that are made in Dryrun are treated as a scratch pad. They don't reflect back to QuickBooks. Okay, that's because now we can't change entries, invoices, etc. This is forecasting. We've left the land of the actuals. Okay, so it's important. That's a distinction that I overmake to accounting professionals. Of course, you understand, you get it. It's often a very important distinction for business users because they tend to imagine that they've made money and then they go ahead and spend money that they've imagined that they've made. Okay, so it's a different sort of mentality. So if I come down here, I'd just like to talk for a little bit about a sales forecast, and then we'll probably wrap up, I'm thinking, in the next few minutes with a little bit of time for questions, if so. Okay, so in terms of sales forecasting, while this is not your role in Dryrun, okay, could be your role in your own business, you will be called upon to guide your clients into the role of building a sales forecast in Dryrun. If for no other reason than at a high level that we can run it across against the actual scenarios. The whole goal, of course, being for your client that you need to bring the orange line, which is your actuals, up to the aqua line without the aqua line coming down to meet the orange line. Okay. The goal is, of course, to set progressive revenue goals and then try to meet them. All right. So generally what I have individuals do is, because this is cash flow, we only ever look at the date that the money enters or leaves your bank account. In fact, QuickBooks is, we adjust QuickBooks data to take into account when an invoice would be paid on time according to the terms that are set for that client. Okay, so what you always see is when the cash is expected in the account. Okay, that causes a little bit of confusion for some people, so I just want to clarify that. Also, before I go any further, please know that at any time, if you have questions or comments for the Dryrun team, you can always reach us through the chat bubble here. Okay, and that goes from everything from your own training. If you want more additional onboarding for clients, we're happy to do that as well. If you're looking, you just have a question about really anything at all as it relates to your cash flow forecasting, whether it be visualization, billing, technical issue, feature suggestion, you can reach us through the chat bubble. Okay, so back to sales forecast. If I use the go to date feature and I'm looking at, we'll say, October, because at October, with October against the left-hand side here, I'll be able to view December. What I would have you encourage your clients to do is set gross revenue for the year. Okay, the reason that I've set it for November 30th, as you can see here, for $8 million, is because we need to get that $8 million in the door by December 31st. Okay, so it's good to give yourself a little wiggle room. Surprisingly, or maybe you're not surprised given who I'm speaking to, I have a lot of business users that can't figure out why they've said that they've made $1 million in 2017 and they're still cash poor. However, when you look at the data as displayed graphically in software like Dryrun or in a spreadsheet, you see that, interestingly, while they might have closed deals right up to December 31st, and they're counting those closed deals as money in hand, they don't actually get paid until the end of first quarter in the following year. So in many ways, using cash flow forecasting software like Dryrun allows your clients to see where the rubber hits the road. So if I put in that gross figure there as a benchmark, then what I can do is I can coach my business clients to work backward to look at what might be sales and cost of sales per month, per quarter, and ultimately per year. I can, if I look in here, I can add an item at any time. I can create a new category. So perhaps in addition to web projects, perhaps this is a digital client, perhaps this is, we'll call it digital repair. Okay, or we'll call it site upgrades, actually is better. And then I can go, I can move backward in time from my year-end benchmark, and I can start assigning different revenue goals to different people, different platforms, different channels, or different products. Okay, and I can do that by category. A question that I get frequently is, does Dryrun support QBO tagging? Not at this time. Or classes? Not at this time. We are looking at how to bring that information in a way that's quite functional. Okay, so if I were to move backward, I could coach my business client on how much money needs to come in. Then it becomes like very simple math. How much money do we need to have come in every quarter and then every month, and how are we going to get that? Okay, so salespeople are not enamored with Dryrun for the simple reason that it really provides a very concrete reason or concrete map of what they should be doing at any given point in the quarter in order to close that business. That is crucial, but it puts operations, management, and sales on the same page. Same with manufacturing. So everybody has a really great understanding of where the money is coming from, when it should hit the account, and then a rock solid place of where we can go from there. So basically that brings me to the end of my my webinar. I'm just going to see if there have been any questions. In the meantime, I encourage any questions via email by the chat bubble, as I've said. Come on out and give Dryrun a trial. So we have a great free trial running. You can bring over data and check out how that might look or work for a particular client. You can build a forecast and then pitch it to them. I always am a fan of starting those conversations with, have you thought about? I was running your numbers and I wondered if you'd thought about what it might look like, as you mentioned, bringing on a contractor or a new facility in the next 6 months. Okay, and then all of a sudden you've got increased value and increased billing coming through the door, which is what we're all after. Be aware that you can definitely flip between views to find the one that's best effective or most effective for your client. That was one thing I forgot to mention through the course of the hour with you. And finally, don't be afraid to reach out if you and your client want to explore what a partner program and perks might look like for you. Okay, if you want, you can email me directly at barb at dryrun.com. I have a slide if you want to take a capture of it in just a moment. Here I am. And with that, I'll wrap up and check in to see if there's any questions. Jennifer?
Great, Barb. Thank you so much. That was really awesome. And actually, I had some questions coming to my mind, and it was like you were reading my mind through the computer, because then you.
Oh, thank you.
So that was really great. And I actually don't see any questions in the queue either. So hopefully that's true for the rest of the audience. Like I said, there was a couple things I was like about to jot down a question, and then you just filled it right in.
I answered it.
Yeah. So thank you.
Perfect.
But yeah, I did want to invite anyone who is still on the line to reach out to Barb if you do have questions, if you wanted a more one-on-one conversation about this.
Absolutely.
For a free trial, any of that. So please do connect. You can also touch base with us here at Out of the Box, and we can make that connection too. So thank you so much. This was really, really great. And this session is being recorded and will be posted to our website. So if anyone needs to go back and revisit any information, you can do that as well in your own time.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention, Jennifer, a new initiative that Dryrun is launching. If you don't mind, I'm just going to plug for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you or any business clients or accounting professionals know of anyone who might be interested in being interviewed for our podcast, we would love to speak with you. You can drop us a quick line, and we basically do some shameless plugging of your business and chat with you about some of the struggles that you've had and maybe overcome, or some things that you foresee in the future and what your plans are. And most importantly, what you'd do if you had $1 million injected into your business. So if that appeals to anybody, any of your listeners now or in the future, just get in touch with us. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Sure. Most definitely. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this presentation and demo today. This was excellent. And I am going to give everyone a chance to look at your beautiful face for another moment and take down your information. And then I'm going to take the screen back just to share some info about our next couple Technology Tuesday presentations. And then we'll wrap it up. So thank you again so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, and as I said, I'm going to go ahead and show my screen again here. You'll see the upcoming Technology Tuesday webinars that we have in a couple weeks. We're really excited to have a CPA with us that's going to talk about tax law changes that impact you the most. So we've been getting a lot of feedback from this one as far as different topics that people want to hear about, questions that they have. So in the coming weeks and days, if you have anything that you're like, oh, I really want to know how this is going to impact me, or I just heard about that, send an email to me, Jennifer at ootbtechnology.com, and we'll make sure to get that included into the presentation. And then in June, we have two exciting ones, one especially on password management with LastPass. I know for me, I'm always looking at my scratch pad of what was that password and where's that password and when did I last update it. So this program, LastPass, is really, really great for managing that. So we invite you to check those out and get signed up. Again, everything is totally free, so that's a really great bonus here. But again, I'll put up my contact information, Jennifer at ootbtechnology.com. You can also check out our website. And my colleague Ellen as well is available to answer any questions you have about our products, our services, our Technology Tuesdays. If you want to present your app or a tip or trick or anything, do reach out to us as well. We're open to lots of new faces and names. So again, Barb, thank you so much. If anyone wants to get a demo, reach out to her or reach out to me and I can get you in touch. And we look forward to seeing you again in a couple weeks.